Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the DXM podcast. I am Colborn Bell. I am here with DP, founder of Soul Savvy. We're going to start this right where we start everything. Would love just to hear a quick intro about yourself and what brought you to the NFT space.
Absolutely. I've been in the sneaker industry now for, 12 years, which is almost my whole lifetime at this point. Started a couple of businesses. My most recent venture is called Soul Savvy. It is basically a Web2 community for people who love sneakers, and we built different technology and a whole platform around that premise. And, I've been tracking the NFT space since about summer of 2020, and I've just seen the potential of what blockchain can do for an industry that has not innovated for a long time. That's very typical e-commerce, and that's excited me, and that's why we decided to jump in the space earlier this year.
Nice. I am no sneakerhead anymore, but I do see those red, white, and black Jordans behind you, and those have always been a favorite colorway of mine.
That is a 1985 Jordan 1, way back.
Nice.
I've maybe worn it twice. I'm a little scared to wear it, but I figure the day that the sole comes apart, that it'll rest on the mantle. So I'm trying to get in a month, every couple months, get in a wear.
Nice. So yeah, tell us more. I'd say let's go into a little more depth about the problems that you are seeing and what blockchain begins to solve.
Sure. Yeah. I think one of the biggest problems in sneakers right now is, loosely, I would say, the exploitation of e-commerce, right? It's essentially botting. We saw that in the ticketing space in 2015, 2016. You couldn't get concert tickets if your life depended on it. Someone was using a bot to buy and resell. And sneakers is really struggling with that problem because most stores were not sophisticated enough. There's different things supporting that. But I think at the end of the day, brands, stores, whoever it might be, they don't know who their real end consumer is. Sneakers has a $6 billion resale economy on top of the primary industry. So what happens is a brand has 100 units of a sneaker, they sell out, but they don't really know who they sold it to. They don't know, did this sell out because my customers wanted it? Did this sell out because someone speculated that my customers would want it? And now there's a middle person in that transaction, which currently is, two maybe in billions in valuation, secondary marketplaces in StockX and GOAT that, again, you don't know. All the data points that you're working with are not accurate. And for me, it was very interesting to, the simple premise of, I bought your NFT, I still own your NFT. What access do I get to, whether that's more product or events or certain content? How do you give that to people who have been with you since day one or day 100? And I see a futuristic version of a rewards program in simple terms to help people understand, that really allows brand and consumer to just come closer, because the gap's been widening. And that's not healthy for any space that's as big as this one.
Yeah, right. It's about loyalty, and then just like direct to the end user. I read that crazy article recently about that guy who was just popped for whatever.
70 million or something like that. 67.
Yeah, you would know better, but if that isn't kind of like endemic of just what we see a lot of, and what we were always trying to solve was, let's cut out the dealers, let's cut out the middlemen, let's show what people care about really, and let's have kind of like that symbolic token that sits in the middle of it.
Yeah. Well, everyone wants to know who their customers are. That's why they say, hey, give us your email, give us your phone number, let us contact you, create an account to get free shipping. They want to know who these people are. The challenge is the fever pitch and the hype of sneakers the past 5 years especially has turned it, like I said, it's given the industry a $6-7 billion market right on top, which is just challenging, right? And that affects consumer morale and interest and brand loyalty. And again, all those things are unhealthy for a consumer experience, because I've seen this in sneakers a lot over the last 2 years, which is like my mental health is not good because of buying shoes. It's stressful
Right.
and there's too much bullshit, et cetera, et cetera. Anytime a consumer can say that, something is fundamentally broken. You can say we're making money hand over fist and the margins are great and we're selling out 100%. None of that matters if the
Right.
people you're trying to sell to are going, I'm miserable. And that
Totally.
is what is happening in sneakers. And some of these companies are really big, and it's like trying to turn the Titanic around. But we'll see.
Yeah, it was interesting in the early days to see the kind of experiments that Artifact was doing. Obviously, they're kind of like AR digital sneakers, bringing them into the metaverse and then getting
Yeah.
acquired by Nike. That caught me totally off guard. I didn't understand it at first. So I'm wondering if you have kind of any insights into like their progression and what that signals and means, and why Nike wanted to acquire them. Yeah.
I was equally as shocked as you. Not because they acquired a Web3 sneaker brand, let's say. That's kind of their roots. More so that when they made the announcement, it was the Nike logo, the Jordan logo, the Converse logo, and the Artifact logo, their blade. And to me, that was mind blowing. It wasn't like, hey, we acquired a cute company, Web3, yada yada. We're being progressive. It was, here's our fourth brand. That's nuts. So I give Nike a lot of kudos for taking the plunge, regardless of what their incentive was. I mean, one of them is clear. In the current ecosystem of sneakers, brands of any kind, retailers of any kind, they don't benefit from the secondary market, right? So you create something, it sells over and over again, and you don't get a piece of that pie. I think I saw the news circulating. I didn't read it in depth, but Nike's at 160 million in revenue through Web3 primary, and I think half of that is 80 million is secondary sales, commissions and fees. That's crazy. They didn't ship a single product, but obviously revenue is always important to any company, right? At a second point, I think the ability to draw in a new audience into the Nike brand and the Nike ecosystem to create new customers or people who have brand loyalty, this was a way to do that, and also an incentive for us, which is like, not everyone's a sneakerhead. You said you're not a sneakerhead. It's not a niche, but it's a smaller piece than most consumer spaces. And again, this is an opportunity to widen that audience and bring more people into the funnel who are going to be interested in product top down or might come back to Nike. So especially from a brand perspective. So I think those were, two of the primary drivers for them. And then obviously innovation, because we look at what Artifact is doing right now with the Air Force One. I mean, I haven't spent more than $200 on Air Force One in my entire life. And now I just spent $600 on Air Force One, which is still technically only an NFT that I'm waiting for them to forge. But it's just creating a new experience, and it's honestly, it's fun. It's interesting, new, and fun.
Yeah, to be fair, I picked up when Ferocious and Artifact did the sneaker drop. I picked up a couple of those. I forged the Punk and the Artifact drop and have those sneakers, and yeah, they're sitting in boxes. I don't know what to do with the physical stuff, but I gotta get like a
nice case. But it's
I gotta get like a sick display case.
There's plenty of those.
Yeah, but I mean, that was cool, and it was just like very, very different. It was really in the beginning where people were starting to make like the NFTs into physical products, really before people kind of blew it out of the water with infinite objects.
Well, it's interesting. Like I obviously believe in Web3 and the metaverse. I think we're living it in some capacity right now. We just look at it differently. Like Instagram, this Zoom video that we're doing right now. But we're still people, right? Like I'm still gonna want to touch and feel and smell and hold, and I think how we do that in a thoughtful way with Web3 is going to be important, because if the vision is just like strap me in, plug me in, and forget about real life, well, fucking then we're just living the matrix, and what is the point of anything that we're living in, right?
Totally.
So I think there's going to be a balance, and that's why I really like the idea of physical and digital, and I'm not ever saying phygital.
Thank you.
One
Thank you for
time I'm
that.
going to say
Yeah.
it. Physical and digital. There's an interesting idea there, which is like, hey, wear obviously what we did, which is wear this sneaker in real life, but also, hey, throw it on your avatar and wear it in Fortnite or whatever the hell you're doing in whatever space.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, do you see these items as being interoperable? Do you think that, I would imagine, just take, for example, somebody like Nike would want their IP in as many places as possible.
Yeah, because it's still influencing, right?
Right.
Yeah, you want people to build a connection with your brand, right? So if we stay on the artifact tract, Nike obviously wants me to have the NFT sneaker, which is going to be tied to the physical, but wear that NFT on my CloneX in whatever virtual world I'm participating in. Again, people are going to see Nikes, and that's, they pay for commercials and bus stops, which you could argue are useless, but it reminds you that they exist, right?
Yeah.
And there's a whole new world of influencers coming up. But at the same time, you're going to step out of your house and go, oh shit, that guy's got Artifact CloneX sneakers on, which I think is underappreciated. Common interests are a great way to make connections and make friendships with people, whether that's digital or physical. And again, fashion, and especially sneakers, are a form of self-expression. And to me, like when I walk out and I go to a party and everyone's wearing dress shoes and Vans, and I see the guy in Jordan 1s, I'm like, oh, that's my guy, because he's wearing Jordan 1s here when no one else is except for me. And again, I think that's interesting, and that you could say that about anything that you could wear, hold, bring around, or you could see behind me in my office. You can kind of tell, you get a look at and a peek into my personality.
Yeah, I mean, another thing that I totally underestimated is the community aspect and like the visual signifier of fashion and how it relates to identity. People need these cues. They want these cues for social situations. They do want to know, like, they want that common interest and they want it to be expressed visually.
Yep.
I go back just like thinking of like the early days of crypto voxels and the things that people were creating. And it's, it can be wild and crazy, but it can also just be as simple as a pair of shoes. And it always has been.
And it transfers across everything, right? Like I remember it was maybe December of 2021. I obviously like what Yuga Labs is doing. I had a mutant ape, and I got tired of looking at it. And I say that because I didn't want my mutant to be my profile photo on social media. I didn't feel like it represented me. I thought it was just weird and kind of ugly, and he was eating a burger or whatever. And I made a decision to sell that, and I buy a doodle. And I bought the doodle because I'm like, okay, I vibe as a person much more with this very simple doodle than I do with this kind of ugly, weird looking mutant ape. I'm not talking investment advice here. I'm just talking like pure aesthetic of how to represent me as a person. I think, we've seen that with different projects. I think that's why NFTs, the PFP projects have been so successful, especially last year, was it gave everyone a tribe. It gave everyone something to be a part of and something they can attach themselves to and say, hey, I'm proud to be an X, Y, and Z. This is me. And I think that's where the best communities have thrived on through the NFT projects, are the ones who like actually have people who give a shit about, let's say, the brand or the mission or what they're building, versus those who were buying it for a quick flip, right? I'm holding many Aquatars. I love what Micah and the Aqua team are building. I don't personally care what floor price it is. I'm aligned with the brand and the mission statement, and that's why to this day that's still my Twitter profile photo, right? Regardless of if 20 ETH turned into 1, I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, that it's a really good point, and I think like something to consider now as we're going through a bit of like a reconciliation period where people are, at the end of the day, you can only be so many places, right? And maybe people, acquired a more than the places that they can be.
Oh, for sure. It's the sapient rule, right? Like you can only have 100 relationships or 100 people you can keep in your circle. Right. I don't even think it's 100 in real life. I think in real life it's like 15 or 20. Try keeping a close relationship with more than a dozen people. It is hard, right? Outside of coworkers. And I think on the internet, let's say that rule is 100. That's like in one place. Like the Discord fatigue is real, especially when it's unorganized. And I think definitely last year people stretched themselves thin, trying to keep up with all these projects, which a lot of people were just throwing shit at a wall. But those projects are almost non-existent at this point.
Yeah, I mean that's just classic crypto bull. Nobody knows anything. Everybody's throwing money everywhere. Numbers keep going up, and then it's got to unwind. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of that. I'm sure you see that in sneakers as well.
I mean, look, it's the hype drives, hype dies down. It's why I've been much more of a disciplined NFT purchaser, because I've learned through sneakers, like, oh, this is a nice sneaker. Oh, I'm gonna buy this for $500. Oh, I don't really like this. Oh no, it's worth $100 now.
Right.
Everything that's bought out of hype and speculation has a bottom, and especially NFTs, what we went through pre this current bear market. Yeah,
cool. So maybe you want to talk more about Soul Savvy and what y'all are up to there.
Like I said, best way to put it is a Web2 sneaker community. We started the business strictly with about 1,000 community members in a Slack, just engaging around passion and interest around sneakers. We facilitated how to buy, where to buy. It was kind of an insider type of group where, again, we had the knowledge and experience in the industry to direct people in the right way to get the product they want, because, again, everything was reselling. And we've just been building up from there. So currently we are an end-to-end sneaker platform. So it starts with community, goes to point of sale technology. So how do we help you buy right when it's releasing in the quickest and most efficient way possible without using a bot? And then also at the end of the kind of consumer journey, it is, peer-to-peer marketplace. So you can buy, sell, and trade, all for 0% fees, because we're subscription-based. I was very big on building a business that our interests and values were aligned with our customers, what they wanted, not anything else. And I think subscription is the way to do that. And then we've always wanted to do our own sneaker. We tested, dabbled. You can see the bespoke. It's a custom Jordan 1 that we did here
in green and white there.
Yeah, the green and white one somewhere. That's right, cool. There.
Yeah.
That was the first project we did. We did 325 pairs, bought original Jordan 1s, ripped off the uppers, and then reconstructed them to our design aesthetic. Very, very expensive to do. That project was $750 USD for a run of 300. So, nice. And so we've been kind of experimenting. We designed a sneaker with our community. So 186 members on Slack, got on Slack and a couple Zooms, and we just like workshopped the shoe together. Cool. Actually I have it underneath me. And that's what came out of this.
Nice, clean. Yeah.
And again, a bunch of people who are not sneaker or footwear designers. We used a Vibram sole for this. So we had custom paint, not a paint job, rubber molding done for this colorway, but I think it came out very nice, very impressive.
Yeah, I dig that.
We sold this for $190. And then at the same time, we were working on a full custom sneaker, like 100% our own IP, the sole, everything all the way down across, make it our own. We worked with 2 former footwear designers at Nike. Took us about a year, and we're finally shipping, thankfully. And this was our first NFT project.
Nice.
And I'll dive and give you the little look around the silhouette. This is also, you can see the sole is our logo, which shout out to me 4 years ago. This worked out perfectly when we put the logo together. So it leaves a footprint. So dirt, mud, sand, just even some water on cement. It'll leave our logo behind on the ground. Yeah, it glows in the dark. So we're very happy with the project. And for me, kind of, we were talking about, the consumer experience. It usually it's, hey, I bought this thing from you. It ships, it's delivered. Thank you for the money. Goodbye. E-commerce has really turned into just a numbers game. How can they optimize and convert and sell? And I wanted to do something that was about again, creating a journey and having a stronger connection with my customer. And that's where the NFT came in. And so you had to mint NFT, and from there is our actual roadmap, which number one was, we're going to give you the physical sneaker. In that it includes free socks, a free t-shirt, discounts on clothing and other sneakers in our store, a magazine cover that we got for the sneaker. And that was phase one of the roadmap. Phase two is coming up in Q4. We're just trying to get things tidied up, but really it's, again, I know what my potentially best or most engaged 723 customers are from our mint. How do I continue to build on that journey with them and reward them and learn from them, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, it was a really fun project to do.
I mean, look, I think that touches on a very interesting meta trend that we're seeing in an age where you have like Amazon next day delivery, right? And everything is at the touch of your fingertips and you can get whatever, any commercial thing. Yeah. How do you personalize the product, right? How do you get people engaged? How does it like develop a deeper meaning than just like a box showing up to your door? Because I think people are hungry for that. I think they're hungry for story and narrative and wanting to be involved. And they want to feel that, that it's, an artisan project in a day and age where everything feels like very sterile and corporate. So just shout out to you for recognizing that. And
yeah, and I considered everyone who minted the NFT as an investment in what we were building, right? It was, regardless of ETH price then and ETH price now, we priced the project to a neutral break even, knowing that we would do all these things. So for everyone who bought the NFT, by the time, obviously, the sneaker, the magazine, the socks, all this stuff happens, you've physically won. Whatever this NFT is worth at this point, you've still won. I didn't run off with your money and leave you with a JPEG or, in our case, an MP4. I left you with some tangible items that are legitimately special and were made with the purpose of innovation. And that's the beauty of it. Now we get to do more with these people, and I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, love that. And then, I see the same thing. You grow it one by one, like word of mouth. You do good to the people and it just grows naturally.
Yeah. It was interesting though. In the NFT space, I think we did the mint sometime in April, and our expectation was to ship late June, early July. But that May, June, July, August stretch, so much happened in this space. I actually had a friend go, "Hey, someone hit me up and asked if you guys were rugging us for this." I'm like, we're making
give us some time.
We're creating things. I'm not rendering 3D sneakers and shipping them. I'm literally having these handcrafted, stitched, in every size 4 through 15. Like it takes time, but it's just interesting how fast the space moves. That 4 months can feel like, project is. We don't know what's going on.
I mean, that's actually a really interesting point. Of course, people's like expectations to flip or to profit went from like years to months to days. As people just, started pumping more and more whatever into the market and dangling the carrot in front. So I definitely think we're seeing a normalizing of expectations.
100%. I had a guy DM me and go, "Hey, I think you're doing this all wrong. I minted 2 and there's no way I'm going to be able to flip it." I'm like, thank you for your concern, kind gentleman. But I don't give a shit because I didn't, this is a sneaker. The roadmap is very clearly outlined. If you mistook this as a 24-hour investment flip, that's 100% your fault.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that narrative is almost gone at this point, because it's unhealthy for the space. One, for people genuinely wanting to get into it, getting suckered into just crap and potentially losing their money and their investment. And two, for real founders and people building can have the time and the patience to like execute, because I've never seen anything like this. If venture capital was like this, we wouldn't have any innovation at all. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm curious. Just probably last question. How did you see? I mean, I think of sneakerheads as very loyal, right?
Yeah.
And definitely there's people in it to make a buck, to flip things, and I'm just curious, if you saw loyalty from this community, desire to continue to go and continue with the roadmap.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a small community, but just yesterday I got 2 emails around like, hey, super excited, I got my first pair. I'm actually holding on to 2 more NFTs, because we had said if you do not claim the current sneaker with your NFT, you can still use it for another claim down the line for other colorways, which we are doing. We have collaborations in the Web 2 and Web 3 space, so it has been interesting to see. And I think the rest of the sneaker industry is also, well, not the rest, but there's different companies, big and small, trying to innovate, right? We can say, Clyde at Sneakerbox NFT, the mission he's going on, and he's doing a mint of 0.04 and 777. Like, he's not trying to do 7,000 at 1.4, right? He's trying to build his community, and I appreciate that, right? There's Concepts is a really, really big boutique retailer for sneakers, and they dropped their free to mint NFT pass proof of concepts, and now they're doing their first token gated release next. It's the 9th, so I think just under a week from now. Just really cool to see different brands and companies tapping into a very, very passionate, loyal audience that will. I mean, you can see it in my wall behind me. I own sneakers. I love shoes, and it's an investment for me, both personally and personally. It's not a financial investment because I wear everything I have. So it instantly loses its value at that point. But it's just interesting how great of an audience it can be. And I think also that is why Nike did the Artifact acquisition, because 2 feverish fan bases coming together in a very lucrative industry where they saw what the pipeline could look like. And the simple premise of just think about a new sneaker silhouette. Normally, Nike would have to, stand on the corner somewhere and be like, hey, what do you think of this? Like, do some Q&A, find some places to get feedback on it, release it 2 years later, and then it could completely flop. The new sneaker release strategy could be do the digital version, free to mint, and see what happens. Does the market like it enough? If it gets to a certain trigger, then you produce it. Like, you can use the people to tell you what's good or what's not, without having to spend any money on supply chain and logistically making a sneaker, which is very expensive. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how Nike utilizes Artifact. But so far, I'm impressed and excited to see what else is coming down the line. You can find out about Soul Savvy really anywhere on the internet, soulsavvy.com, 1V, and we're at Soul Savvy on all socials. And then myself is at DP16, DP16 everywhere as well, Twitter, Instagram. And I think that's about where my social media prowess ends. I'm not on TikTok or YouTube.
Probably for the better.
Yeah.
All right. I'm Colborn Bell, Museum of Crypto Art. Thank you, DP. Thank you, DMINTI. And we're going to get out of here.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Cheers, bud.
Breaking news.